Hello guys, we've done it. Welcome to another episode of I Bought a Watch. Today, we've hit 1,000 subscribers. Well, it wasn't in fact today, it was actually yesterday, but I'm so excited. That last video has shot up way more than I thought it would, but it's also highlighted some improvements. First off, I do a lot of this spinning on my little spinny chair, and I'm going to try and stop doing that, try and stay still, stop distracting from what I'm actually saying. And second off, I'm going to be looking at the camera at you guys rather than over here at my face on the display, because I see my face a lot, but I want to give you guys my full attention, and I feel like it's more engaging. That was pointed out to me. Second up, I want to talk about, so on the topic of hitting 1,000 subscribers, I will be doing a 1,000 subscriber special. I'm playing with a few ideas in my head. I might be doing a state of the collection video when I'm able to get back to my collection. I will probably be doing another subscriber giveaway, so stay tuned for that. And also it helps if you hit that little notification bell icon down here. It will give you notifications so that you can enter to that giveaway. Because I do want all of you guys to enter, because it is my way of saying thank you to everyone. And on the topic of saying thank you to everyone, I want to take this time to say again, thank you to everyone. And until I get round to making that subscriber special, I would suggest for the newcomers, I've got quite a lot of other videos. I'll leave them linked up here and some in the description, but go check out my channel. I've got a bunch of playlists, and hopefully that will introduce you guys to some other cool watches, because after all, that is my aim for this channel, to help kind of bring cool watches to your guys' attention and help you pick the best watches. It would also help me get the 1,500 hours left before this channel can become monetized. That of course is in your guys' interest, because it allows me to get more watches onto the channel in front of the camera for you guys. Speaking of getting in front of the camera, let's flip this camera around so I can show you the watch we're reviewing today. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at this Phylida Submariner Homage, which you can go pick up for £60 and 55p off AliExpress. Now, although Phylida is not taking part in the 11/11 sale, after speaking with them, they have mentioned a potential Black Friday sale, so keep an eye out for that. And if I get any news, I'll be sure to update you guys in a future video. So if you want to know about that, please remember to hit that bell icon so that you never miss a future video. If at any point in this video you do fancy picking one of these up, I have left an affiliate link in the description below, and that just means I get a small bit of commission at no extra price to you guys. Okay, so first off, if you're not familiar with my reviews, the basic structure will be some background, basic dimensions, specs, and opinions, of course. And then I have the fun job of trying to persuade you guys not to buy this watch. So you'll want to stick around for that. Okay, so like I mentioned, I like to delve a little bit into the background of a watch, or in this case, the watch that this is paying homage to. And that watch is, of course, the Rolex Submariner 2020 Kermit reissue, which is quickly gathering a nickname of the Starbucks. Anyway, in this 2020 reissue, they've changed a few key features from the original Kermit. First and foremost, they've upgraded the movement hidden behind that iconic dial, but they've also swapped out the green aluminium bezel insert for a far more scratch-resistant ceramic bezel. All these changes were to be expected, but pale in comparison to the headline change, that Rolex had increased the case dimensions to a whopping, wait for it, 41 millimeters. That's just 1 mil over the original design. So there are a bunch of other changes in dimensions, such as thinning of the lugs and just generally giving the watch a more slender look on wrist. So while we're talking about dimensions, this is a great segue into moving into some of the specifications of this Phylida. And I mentioned some dimensions changes in the background section, but this Phylida has actually some pretty deceptive dimensions in general. I'll explain as I go along. First off is the diameter, which at the bezel is 41 millimeters, same as its Rolex inspiration. But notice I said at the bezel, as this one is actually 40 millimeters if you take a measurement at the case, making this one wear really well on wrist. The lug to lug here is 47 millimeters. However, again, this is slightly deceptive due to those pesky protruding male end links, which stretch this one up to a not too small 54mm. The lug width here is a nice 20mm, great for all of those strap swappers out there, and the height is a rather tall 13mm. However, due to that shaped caseback, I'll address this again when I wear it on wrist, but this one actually wears a lot closer to 11mm in my opinion. But before we do that, let's move on to the dial. Now, this is a dial layout many of you will be familiar with, so in the interest of not boring you, I'll just go over some of the things I think Phylida has done really well. First off is the hands and indices. They are finished incredibly well in a high polish, and the handset is well proportioned for this dial size, with the hour hand touching the tip of the triangle at the 12 and the seconds and minute hand extending all the way out to that minute track edging the dial. The dial itself is a beautiful gloss piano black, which has a very clean, crisp printing under close visual inspection. I spoke about the minute track, and a nice touch of detail I've noticed is the ever so slightly thicker markers at the 5-minute marks, which is just an attention to detail I really wasn't expecting at a watch at this price point. In regards to dirt, debris, and fluff, there is really none to speak of under that crystal, and it only really gathers around the edge of that sapphire Cyclops magnifier, which I must say does an excellent job magnifying the cutout date window, and which is more or less perfectly centered. The Cyclops is affixed to that wonderfully flat sapphire crystal, which has the finest of bevels edging it, bringing it down to meet that bezel nicely. The 120 click unidirectional bezel features a ceramic dive time bezel insert, which lines up perfectly with that 12 o'clock. The action personally is a little too light for me, and the clicks, although clear and audible, do come across as slightly tinny. The bezel features a Lume pip that sits a little too proud in my opinion, and I feel that it is in danger of getting knocked out if you clip this watch against the side. This, however, is not too much of an issue, as the bezel has a bonus feature up its sleeve not present in the Rolex, and that is that it is fully lumed. The lume on this piece, as you can see, certainly leaves a little to be desired in the case of the dial. The lume is by no means bad, and although not particularly bright, does hang on for a decent period of time. This, however, is completely eclipsed by that lumed bezel, which really does steal the show in low light conditions. Edging the bezel is a wonderfully polished fluted grip, which, due to the texture contrast against the brushed lugs and bracelet, really catches the light in a beautiful way. As I mentioned, the top of the lugs are finished in a longitudinal brushing, whereas the sides of the case are finished in a contrasting polish. On the right side of the case, the integrated sloped lugs work to partially protect that unsigned screw-down crown at the 3 o'clock position. Unscrewing the crown gives you control over what I believe to be a DG2813 movement, which features hacking, hand winding, a quick set date, a 40-hour power reserve, but by far the most surprising feature is the instant date change, which, although is incorrectly calibrated, is really a cool feature. Accuracy-wise, I'm getting +6 seconds a day, which is perfectly acceptable, but again, with these Ali watches, they can vary a lot from watch to watch, so it's always a bit of a gamble when you buy one. The 3-link bracelet, consisting of solid end links and links, continues the theme of brushing along the top and bottom of the links and polishing along the edging. Special mention has to be given to the end links, which comprise of 3 individual pieces, which give a clean, crisp cutoff between links. The bracelet has a rather substantial taper from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the clasp, where it pops back up to 18mm. The nicely milled clasp, like the case and bracelet, features brushing on the upper portion and a polished finish down either side. The action here is an easy to use fold over clasp with a friction safety latch to stop it from accidentally opening on wrist. Sizing the bracelet is nice and easy due to the screw link system and an inbuilt sliding micro adjust, which unfortunately I can't show you on camera apparently, but what I can show you is how this one wears on the wrist. And as you can see, it wears exceptionally well. The 41mm is hardly noticeable as a change, and if anything, just enhances the legibility of an already incredibly legible piece. From a side profile, you can see what I was talking about. The height of the case on wrist doesn't wear anything like the 13mm would suggest. The length of the watch is still a bit of an issue if you have smaller wrists. So if you're a smaller wristed guy or girl, you might have to settle for a NATO leather or rubber strap instead. Unfortunately, I don't have my straps with me to give you a strap showcase, but expect this one to feature in a mega strap showcase coming up on the channel soon. Okay, well, now we have the part of the review where I go over some of the reasons not to buy this watch. Now, for all of you who are new, this does not mean that it's a bad watch. In fact, quite the opposite. I found that when I personally am looking to buy something, I often search up reviews because I really want it. So if you guys are anything like me, I'm often looking for a second opinion outlining some of the shortcomings of a product that if I can accept, then there is no doubt in my mind and I can make the purchase comfortably. Now, I know this has the potential to dissuade some of you from buying certain watches, but at the end of the day, I don't work for these watch companies, I don't owe them anything, and there is really a whole world of watches out there for you to go and get. So actually, I'd prefer you to make an informed purchase and be happy with it than me missing out some of the negative information and you being disappointed after the postman drops off that package. Okay, to start off with, right off the bat, this is a homage, copy, design, whatever you want to call it, of a Rolex Submariner. So if that fact bothers you and you do feel uncomfortable with people potentially mistaking this for a real Rolex, then this is clearly not the watch for you. Next up is the quality control. And like all watches in this price point, I have noticed some niggling things that I want to make you guys aware of. First up is that handset. This is rather jarring as the date does flip over prior to midnight. And to be honest, it has caught me off once or twice on late nights just before I'm going to bed. This is something that I can and will eventually fix, but I realize it's not something everyone is comfortable with doing, so it's definitely worth me mentioning it again. On the topic of misalignments, another thing worth mentioning is that the Arabics in that cutout date window are ever so slightly to the left. Perhaps not even a millimeter, but it's slightly noticeable, especially due to the Cyclops. So if you're picky of these things, again, it's something to note. Next up is the bracelet. Now, I realize I've subsequently received a replacement due to damage in the post, but there are definitely portions of this bracelet that are not finished to the standard of the head of the watch, and most notably are the end links, which continue to protrude slightly beyond the lugs, and at some point the bracelet does catch itself on neighboring links. On the topic of finishing, and more specifically branding, there is a distinct lack of signed crown, clasp, and case back, which I feel would really elevate this piece a little more in my eyes particularly. This is of course my opinion, and I am aware some of you are not the best fans of the Phylida name. Actually, on the topic of casebacks, my opinion on this caseback, although wonderfully comfortable and does a great job of slimming the profile, it is really a pain to get off if you want to self-regulate this watch, or for example, realign the handset. From past experience, this style of caseback usually results in you scratching them up, trying to get them off or on using a caseback removal tool. Or if you're using a grip ball, I feel that it really limits the water resistant seal that you can achieve compared to using the tool. So it's really, you got to weigh up whether you value scratches or water resistance, which I'm definitely not a fan of. Anyway, on that very weird and specific note, I will end this review. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, go and check out some of my other videos. I have one on a real Rolex Submariner, which I was privileged enough to feature in an early episode, as well as a host more episodes, so please go check them out. Anyway guys, stay cool, stay safe, and I'll see you again in another episode. Bye!